Okay, listen only mode. It's great mastering. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, the Mastering Your Salesforce Workflow After the Sunset of Data.com. My name is Vincent Pietrafesa, and I'm here with Pat Sabatino. We will get into the webinar in just one moment. We're just going to wait another minute or two as I see people are piling in on the webinar here. Just going to give it a few more moments. We appreciate everybody joining us. In the meantime, before we start, I could just give a quick introduction of myself. My name is Vincent Pietrafesa. I have the headphones on here, as you can probably see me. I like to talk with my hands, so you'll see a little bit about that. I'm dialing in live from New York City. That you really can't see, but I am the Vice President of B2B Products at Stirista, and I am in charge of developing products specifically on the B2B side to help different marketers and advertisers with lead generation, email marketing campaigns, customer acquisition. And the reason we're having this webinar today is based on a product that we developed along with Stirista and Pat Sabatino. And Pat, I think it's a great time. Let's kick off the webinar. People have joined in. We really appreciate everybody joining us here. And again, this is Mastering Your Salesforce Workflow After the Sunset of Data.com. I'm Vincent Pietrafesa, and I'd like to introduce, I'll be your moderator. I'd love to introduce our special guest, Pat Sabatino. Pat Sabatino and I decided to dress alike today. We did not plan that because he's in Rhode Island and I am in New York City, but the brown suede looks good on us. Pat is the founder and CEO of Stirista, a cloud-based data platform business located, as I mentioned, in Long Island. Prior to Stirista, Pat spent 5 years in product and business development roles at Salesforce, focusing on data products and partnerships. In addition, Pat was the GM of data operations and was part of the executive staff at Jigsaw, acquired by Salesforce, which actually later became Data.com. So it's safe to say Salesforce, Data.com, all things data, Pat is an expert on. My favorite tidbit, though, before we start about Pat, is he and I met 18 years ago at Direct Media in Greenwich, Connecticut. And we actually played in the Greenwich, Connecticut Corporate Basketball League, the mean streets of Greenwich, Connecticut.
Indeed, that was a lot of fun. And I think you're trying to be a little younger than you are there, Vims. I think it was more like 19 and a half years ago. But
it was about 19 years. I know. I'm 41 years young. Yeah, as people say. But no, thank you so much, Pat. And today, what we'd like to cover is many of you out there obviously know what Salesforce is, Salesforce.com, and Salesforce.com had an aspect of it that allowed you to ingest data into the data.com, and data.com is actually sunsetting. It's no longer going to be around. So Stirista identified a need to develop an application along with Pat Sabatino and Stirista to still deliver within Salesforce. Because let's face it, it has to be in Salesforce, right? If it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. You hear that all the time. I've been in sales. If it's not in there, it doesn't exist. I'm frankly tired of hearing it. But being able to still have high quality contact data within your Salesforce environment was very important to us, and we know it's very important to you listening, as well as being able to enrich the data that you currently have, essentially high velocity data. So today, what we'd like to cover with Pat, and then I will pass it off to him, is a number of things. But again, who's this guy? What's Stirista? Stirista, here's our elevator pitch. You can take a look at it on the screen here. But essentially, Stirista is an identity-driven marketing company, data-driven as well. And we, as I mentioned before, we're helping customers through our own proprietary data sets, help our clients with customer acquisition, retention. If they have fragmented data, we're really helping them overall with all of their marketing campaigns and executing marketing campaigns for those companies, all in an effort to help them get new customers, retain the customers that they have. That's Stirista. Enough about Stirista and myself. What we want to cover today. Well, what are the benefits of high velocity data? Why does it make sense to have data very quickly injected into your CRM environment, at your marketing team's fingertips, your sales team's fingertips? What are the benefits? We'll cover that today. But really, Pat, talk a little bit about that before we get into it.
Sure. So I've been in the data industry for over 35 years now. And if you look back at the history of the data industry, it goes back over 125 years. You can trace the roots back a long way. And all throughout history, data has been delivered to each client individually. Each client was a delivery point of one, whether it was going to a letter shop or a service bureau or a call center or a marketing data warehouse, or if it was going on-premise to a company that was maybe running Siebel on-premise on some old AS400 mainframe in the computer room in the back. Every client got an individual data delivery, and then the client would have to figure out how to ingest that data to their systems, because each system was on-premise, behind a firewall, not corrected. And the data industry existed this way for over a century. Then in 2007, Salesforce changed the world. They came out with something called the App Exchange. And the App Exchange was a way to add functionality to your Salesforce instance through external applications. They were safe and they were secure and they were multifunctioned. And we'll talk about security a little bit later in this webinar. But by enabling an app marketplace, just like you add apps to your phone, now data providers had the potential to reach tens of thousands and eventually what will be hundreds of thousands of customers in one place through one method. They didn't have to have people individually write to their API or ingest a CSV file, write off an FTP. Now you can create an app. And when I was at Jigsaw, back in 2007, we created Jigsaw for Salesforce, which was the first data as a service app. And it was so powerful that Salesforce bought the company and made it data.com. Now, we're not going to talk about what led to data.com's being shuttered, is a polite way of putting it. That's a topic for a different conversation. But it has left a hole in Salesforce for people who need sales and marketing data and have become accustomed to the fact that it's integrated inside of Salesforce. You don't have to import, you don't have to export, you don't have to do outside matching and data integration. Everything is in there, net dedupe, and Stirista has worked together with us. We have created a wonderful app that now allows you to come in and get most of the functionality you got out of data.com and some new functionality, and be able to get your Stirista data inside of Salesforce without doing much more than installing an app. And it's really important because if you look at what has changed, when Salesforce changed the world by having the App Exchange, from a data perspective, the Salesforce platform is a high velocity platform, right? Someone visits a website, that information often is in the hands of a salesperson within a minute or two. I can't tell you how many times I've visited a company's website and I've received an email or a phone call just moments after I leave the website, or even while I'm still on the website. That's because speed is the new currency, right? And here we are looking at, we have all of these activities that occur that the CRM handles, but if you don't have the third-party knowledge interacting with your first-party information, you don't have all the depth you need to appropriately score leads or make sure that you can fill in all the details about that account or about that contact to get off the ground running quick with that opportunity. So speed is a new currency and data needs to be as fast. Stirista stepped up, they've tackled the challenge and have made high velocity data integration into Salesforce part of the product portfolio.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. And thank you for more people joining. I see we're coming in case people missed the introduction here. I'm talking with Pat Sabatino here from Stirista. We're talking about the the name of the application on the App Exchange is called Stirista Prospector. That's how you could look it up. If anyone is having has trouble finding it, please let us know. And I just also do want to announce that right in the chat window here, please feel free to message me with questions. We'll be taking questions at the end. This should maybe run about 45 minutes, and then we'll have some room for questions around 15 minutes or so. So I appreciate sending those questions in, and we'll get to those. So what we also want to talk about, Pat, you talked about the benefits of high velocity data. Let's take a look at the application. What we're going to talk about, the two functionalities really of the application. One of them is the enrichment portion of the application. Enrichment meaning taking the current data that you have within your Salesforce. You know that I have it too, my contacts, my leads, my accounts that I've been prospecting for
First party
years.
data.
Exactly. And, talk to me about some of the solutions that you could do within the enrichment portion to that data.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we all have data inside of Salesforce. We wouldn't have, if you think about it, CRM systems in and of themselves are nothing but a big box for data. There is no function in Salesforce that does not do something to a piece of data. So we all have first party data in Salesforce. We have accounts, we have contacts, we have leads. What we often have with those are old account information, old
Mhm.
lead information, outdated information, and really, frankly, a lot of incomplete information. I know when I was at Salesforce, I led a study that had shown that up to 34% of the data inside of Salesforce was incomplete or inaccurate at any given moment. And that was not because of anything Salesforce had done, but that people, once they enter stuff into Salesforce, don't maintain it and don't have an automated way of keeping the latest information flowing into the system. In addition to that, it's really incomplete, and it's not just incomplete on the standard object fields. You have basic fields that come with Salesforce. Maybe on a contact record, you have a first name and a last name and a company name and an email address and a phone number. Those are standard object fields. Those are the basics, and you are incomplete on that quite often. You're missing a title, or you're missing a phone number, or you have an old email. You need to complete that. But beyond that, you're also missing other information, right? You may be looking at an account and you may not know the sales volume. You may not know the SIC code. You may not know if they use a certain technology. These are all blanks, holes in your knowledge, and you need to have these insights inside of Salesforce. And what's really important is that that information is actually inside of Salesforce. For rep productivity, you are not interested in having your salespeople out searching the web, looking to figure out what this company is or who that person is, or I'm going to go look it up on LinkedIn, but it's still not in Salesforce. And later on, you're trying to do your segmentation and your targeting, and you have all these blanks, all these holes. What you really need is you need that data actually inside of Salesforce. You need it integrated. You need it in fields that can be searched and used in all of those processes. And inside of what we're going to show a little bit in the demo is how Stirista has automated all of that for you so that all the intelligence that comes out of our data ends up in your CRM and is updated in a continuous fashion.
Exactly. And then we're going to take a look at a demo of that in a little bit, but that's the enrichment solutions. And another thing, that's taking a look at your current data that you already have in there. Again, your accounts, your leads, your contacts. But the exciting part is, again, being in business development is finding that new customer. Everyone wants to find those new customers, or 50 or 1,000 new customers that they're looking for. And there's also a prospecting solution. The prospecting solution is really a lot of what people use data.com for. That was, finding new customers. That's great. So we've implemented that as well, a way to target new accounts, contacts. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, we all love our customers. Every one of us loves our customers. But yeah, you're right. The thrill's in the hunt. Everyone wants to go out and bag new logos, right? So what you really need is you need an integrated solution. There's a million companies out there that have a website where you can go buy lists. That's not innovating anything. But the problem with that is you don't really know if the data you're buying is already in Salesforce. Are you paying for stuff you already have? Are you adding dupes to your instance because it's not matched? Or if it's an outside vendor, do you have to export data from Salesforce and send it off to that external company and have them, match it against their data and pull the stuff out? And this is going to take days or even a week. And no one's really ever happy about exporting data from Salesforce and having it leave the ranch. That's a little risky. What happens to that file when it's over there? I don't know what that company's going to do with it, right? So from a process, a human productivity standpoint, from a data security standpoint, from a time saving standpoint, it's best if you can have that prospecting experience not outside of Salesforce, and the data has to leave Salesforce and go to the prospecting experience and return back results. It's best if you could bring that prospecting experience inside of Salesforce and then have it interact with your data so you can pull up lists inside of Salesforce when the user has their fingers on the keyboard at the moment of need and know for sure that you're pulling in data that isn't already inside Salesforce. We're going to show several different ways that you can do this and be able to, bring people in.
Great. Yeah, because one of the things that we work here at Stirista, we work with customers in a few different ways, but a lot of it is working with them and sending them data separately. They send us an existing file that they wanted attributes appended to. Cut me a file of 50,000 marketing managers so I could successfully market to. That's offline, but being able to have it within your CRM instance. And again, I think a majority of people out there, if they are using CRM, it tends to be Salesforce. So it's having it right in there, just cutting out a step. Everyone's time is so valuable and precious these days that you just want it readily available. So let's take a look now. What we're going to do, as more audience is joining, we appreciate that, is take a look at the demo environment. Now, this is after you are we spared you the downloading of the application. And again, that's right on the App Exchange at Salesforce. App Exchange, interestingly enough, I want you to tell that quick anecdote, Pat, about the App Exchange. It very much does look like the App Store. And tell me why. I love that story.
Sure. So you can Google this in your free time. There's a great Forbes article out there about it. Mark Benioff, who's the chairman of Salesforce, actually used to work at Apple. And as Salesforce was growing, he went to Steve Jobs and asked him for some advice. And Steve said, sure, come on down to Cupertino, come sit with me for a morning. We'll figure out growth strategies for your business. And Steve basically looked at Mark and said, I've looked at everything you've shown me, and I think what you need for your platform is an app economy. And Mark Benioff said, what the heck is an app economy? And I don't think he actually used the word heck, but for the purpose of this broadcast, we'll use the word heck. Steve Jobs said, I don't know, but you got to go back and figure it out. And they went back and they thought about it, and they came back a few months later, and Mark said, hey, Steve, this is what we've come up with. We want to do this platform, this thing called the App Exchange, where people can sell apps that add to the functionality of Salesforce, and it'll be a competitive marketplace, and we're going to take a percentage of every app that's sold. And we went through the whole thing, and Steve Jobs looked at it and said, that's brilliant. I have this new thing coming out next year called the iPhone, and I needed a way to add functionality to the iPhone. And as a thank you, Mark Benioff actually gave Steve Jobs the appstore.com domain, which became Apple's App Store. So
wow.
Apple's App Store is modeled after Salesforce's App Exchange. And the beauty of that is we've all downloaded apps on our phone. And when you download an app on your phone, you know that's coming from an Apple server, and it's going through Apple's security. This is one of the things that make Apple iPhones more secure than things that are on the Android marketplace. We're not going to get into that. But everything on an iPhone actually comes from an Apple server, and it's gone through Apple security, and it's really secure. Well, much like that, Salesforce has every one of these apps on the App Exchange on their servers. And for an app like Stirista's app to get onto Salesforce's server, it goes through a very stringent Salesforce security review. If any of you really want to nerd out, go ahead and Google Salesforce security review for App Exchange, and you'll learn about this incredibly stringent process in which I think it's 78% of the apps fail their first try, and it's super technical, but basically they're checking the APIs that the apps connect with for security. They're checking what you do with the customer data when it leaves Salesforce. They're checking what you put back into Salesforce. They're checking all your code. So when integrating things into Salesforce, there are companies out there, some of them are even data companies, that offer quote unquote integrations, but they're not on Salesforce's App Exchange. And that is usually a red flag, because if it's not on Salesforce's App Exchange, it hasn't been security tested. You can't be sure what you're connecting to, and you really can't feel good about what's happening to your data when it leaves Salesforce. Whereas when you work with a solution like our solution, which is on Salesforce's App Exchange, you can have a degree of trust in the fact that Salesforce has put it through a very stringent 2-month security review and has determined the app is a safe app for their customers to use. And not just the first time, every single time there's an update to the app, Salesforce passes it through a security review to continually ensure that once it's not even once you get on the reservation, you have to continually, anytime you make a change, be certified to security review. Anything on Salesforce's platform connecting from the App Exchange to yours has to go through this process. And I think we're very proud to say our app was not one of the 78% that failed on the first attempt. Our app is well built and it passed on the first try.
Yeah, and it's very, and I can attest to the rigorous security review that you have to go through in Salesforce, and that's a great point, especially now. It's always been important, but especially now, I feel like data security and privacy is very important. So that's excellent to know. What we're taking a look at now, let's transition into the demo environment. This, Pat's going to show us the enrichment portion that we talked about before. And again, just to kind of recap, enrichment, you're familiar with Salesforce, you're looking at your environment. This is one of your accounts that you have in, or contacts or leads. And, with the Stirista prospector application, it's, going to update and add additional elements to your existing Salesforce environment. That helps, I know, especially from being in sales, it helps you to append, as Pat mentioned, additional attributes onto that. It's going to help you better effectively target those companies. How often do you get a message from someone on LinkedIn and they feel like they know nothing about you? Well, wouldn't it be a little more welcome and warm if you had, hey, I understand that that you have this technology in use, so we have a solution specifically for this, or yeah, hey, we're a mid-sized company as well. Do some research. I understand your CEO's name is X. There's a variety of information you can use, and that's what Pat's going to show us there. And take us through it, Pat.
Absolutely. So let's talk a bit about the enrichment solution, and then we'll talk about the prospecting one after. So with the enrichment solution, and we're looking at a record, I have it over here on my side monitor, but we're looking at a record from Tiffany & Company, and we see that we have some standard object fields up here for the company name, the address, the phone number, some basics. So when you install our app into your Salesforce instance, whether it's an account, a contact, or a lead, we pull the standard object data down through the app, and we match it to our data. And it's important to note, once we're done matching it, we discard it. Your data, we only are pulling these standard object fields that are required for matching. We're not touching any fields that are not required for matching. We're not going into your opportunities. We're not looking at your dollar values, whether they closed or not. We're not touching anything other than for accounts, basically name, address, phone number, fax number, and website. And for contacts and leads, we're taking company name, first name, last name, address, phone number, and email. We're taking those, we're matching that to our data, and then we're discarding your data. There's no resident footprint left on our servers. It never in any way becomes part of Stirista's data. we are saying that here because we can. And I would question other people who do those non-app exchange integrations if they are actually holding on to your data. We are certifying that we don't. We have certified that to Salesforce. We're certifying it to you. Your data is secure. We are only pulling those fields. And then once we've matched them and associated them to our data, we are coming back into your instance and we are creating a custom object down here on the bottom that basically is showing you a number of fields that we're adding that give you additional insights and knowledge on this particular account, whether it's SIC codes, websites, social URLs. We picked Tiffany. Tiffany uses a lot of technology, so there's a lot of technologies appended. And we also have all the complete information on the company revenue and the address and all of that. And here's the wonderful thing. We come in on the first day, we do all of this automatically. We create these fields automatically. Your admin does not need to sit down and hand type out a whole list of fields. This is all done insta-magically through the technology in our application for you. And then once it's installed, we're doing three things every day. One, every day we're going to come in and we're going to look and see if you've added any new accounts, any new contacts, or any new leads. And we're going to show you, also with contacts, we've added other information for the contacts, and for leads, we add information on those leads as well. But we come in every day, we check, see if any new ones have come in, we pull them over immediately, match them, and return this information. We also look at your unmatched records. Maybe yesterday you had a record for Tiffany, but you didn't have a phone number or a URL or an address, and we couldn't tell. I mean, it could be Tiffany Jewelers, it could be Tiffany Plumbing. We wouldn't know, right? So maybe today you added a phone number or a website, something that helps us with what we call a matching disambiguation that allows us to associate this record now to the correct Tiffany in our data set. And now we come in and we match that. So every day we check for new records on your side. We check for unmatched records that have had a change and pull those over and try to match them. And then the third thing that we do is we look at our own data every single day. Did we update something? Did we change the sales volume? Did we get a new phone number? Whatever that is, if it changes in our data, it changes your data. And we come in and we put it in this third-party custom object here. Some important pieces to note in all of this. Some programs, some applications or integrations will come in and say, oh, well, we're going to do you a favor. If we update our phone number, we're just going to come into your instance and we're going to come up here and we're going to update your phone number for you. That sounds super convenient. That should be an enormous red flag. It's important for you to understand this information here on the top. This is your information. This is your first party information. This is your asset, right? At no point should we or any other third party company come in and decide for you when something here should be changed. What is important is that when we change a phone number, we have our own phone number field and that we populate that field. Once that field or that address or any of those fields for that matter, once that is populated, you can very easily come in and write all kinds of rules and workflow using the power of Salesforce's native tools to make decisions. Maybe you're going to say for accounts, all accounts are real customers or opportunities. I don't ever want to overwrite a phone number because that's a customer piece of information. Maybe on leads, I always want to overwrite a phone number because they haven't converted yet. These are the decisions that you can make. Maybe you might say, hey, look, Stirista has a number of employees and I have an employees field up here. Maybe I choose to put that number of employees here. You using workflow inside of Salesforce, your admin can do any of this stuff for you. What's important is the data is inside of Salesforce and you are now empowered to make your own choices as to if and when you do that. Think about all the possibilities. Now you have all this information to segment your data, right? And it's updating automatically, no employee time on your part. Plus, you also have a lot of other capabilities. So let's just hypothetically say you had a number of bounced emails in your system. Maybe you've added a field in your system that says email is bounced, right? Wouldn't it be nice to come into Salesforce and run a report that says, show me for every bounced email where Stirista has an email that is different. And you can do that using some logic tools, is not equal, etc. And all of a sudden you can say, well, hey, I've got 500 records in here with a bounced email, and Stirista has a different email for them. Maybe I should be mailing that other email address. You can overwrite them and try to reactivate it. Really, the number, we could sit here all day. We could spend hours talking about things you could do. The beautiful thing is the data is inside the Salesforce. It's always updating. You can write triggers when something changes that puts it in a salesperson's queue. The power is limited to your imagination and what you can do inside of Salesforce. It's great. Salesforce is a world-class tool, and having this data dynamically updating in here creates a ton of great possibilities.
We appreciate you showing that, and that's so the enrichment of the account, and it's the holidays, so you chose Tiffany. Great choice, Pat. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we can
let's
come in,
take
we
a
can
look.
get other contacts at Tiffany if we wanted to fill that out. We enrich the contact information. Here's our good friend Dave Bailey over
Yeah,
right
so
here.
this is if
All
you
that's great information on David that can be imported.
yeah, if you have a contact, so if you have contact information in there, it does the same. It gives you more information about that. That's the contact. Yes, that's Starista's own David Bailey.
If you want to sell anything to Stirista, I recommend you screenshot that email right there. You should call David. So, and then on your lead emails, you also have people who are, your leads, and you can come in and we're enriching that as well. And by the way, it's configurable, totally configurable, that you can come in and decide, I only want to enrich accounts and contacts, but I don't want to enrich leads. Maybe for some reason you're doing something different with leads. Everything's configurable. You have control. And maybe you don't want all of our data. Maybe you just want certain selected fields. We can have this set up so you can get all or none of the records.
Yeah, I think it'd be extremely important for the lead aspect of it, because as leads come in, they're constantly coming in. Maybe you're importing leads, or you just went to a trade show and you met people and leads come in. It's a way to add some depth to that lead. And again, a better story to target that lead. That's going to be different than just the generic targeting that maybe other companies are doing. So I found the lead the lead aspect of it very important.
Absolutely. And if you think about the fact that you have all these leads coming in, you're going to have all this account and contact information available on the lead, that you can now add that into your lead scoring. So as these leads come in, you can better prioritize them. You can actually use them to help with account planning and which rep is going to get the lead handoff. It's all in there, and you can use the power of Salesforce to do that. And holding up a giant safe harbor slide, don't make your buying decisions on products that are not yet in market. But really soon, we're going to be adding to this the ability to do instant lead enrichment, which means that the minute that it comes in, you can have a lead immediately enriched, not have to wait for it to be enriched overnight. And that's coming very soon.
So, Pat, before we go into prospecting, an exciting aspect of it, Salesforce, there's two editions of Salesforce. There's the Lightning and the Classic. This could be done in both, correct?
It supports both. It does support both. For those of you who don't want to switch over to Lightning, and as a guy who's been using Salesforce for a decade, over a decade, and a guy who used to work at Salesforce, I am still fond of Classic. I understand Lightning does look spiffier. I know there are a lot of people who are hesitant, and Salesforce is trying to push everyone over to Lightning. But if you're in that group of people who just, everything works great in Classic, and I don't want to touch anything, I don't want to break anything, yes, we support Classic as well.
Awesome. And I appreciate it. Questions are coming in, and you'll see me writing some down over here on the side and this side. So that's what I'm doing, moving around. Show us the prospector, Pat.
Sure. So on the prospecting, you'll notice that we actually have a tab right up here that gets installed. So you can go directly into Stirista's prospecting engine inside of Salesforce. You're not leaving, you're not going to some external website. We're still here in Salesforce. We can do contacts, we can do accounts, we can go to opportunities, and we can come right back over to the prospecting tab. And this is a dynamic integration between the Salesforce platform, your first party data, and our information. When we do all that overnight matching, we're flagging in our data which of your records uh, are in sales, which of the records we have are in your Salesforce instance, so that you can come in with this box over here is checked and show only unmatched results. So I can come in and I can run something and say, okay, I'm looking for a contact. We have a way to do account-based also. You can look for companies. Hey, I just want to get companies in the state of Rhode Island because we all love Rhode Island, right? There's 15,728. We can look at SIC codes of fortune ranks and industries and a number of different things, number of employees, and we can filter and pull in accounts. But let's look at contacts, because while ABM is a big topic, we sell to people, not companies, right? So when you click on that contact over here, this contact tab, you can come in and you could say, I'm looking to have some people for an upcoming event. So let's say I am looking for, I sell something that integrates well with Microsoft's Azure platform, which is a big competitor to AWS. So I'm going to type in the technologies installed box Azure. And I'm going to see, okay, there's 50,098 Azure users that we know of in our data. And I'm going to look for those people in the state of Massachusetts, 841. And let's do Rhode Island and Connecticut and New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine, because that's my territory. I'm in New England. I've got 1,480 Azure users there. And, I can now come in and I can look at these people. I can look at them by designated market areas. I can look at them by companies, a number of different things. Or I could say, for now, that's good enough. 1,480, that's a really great list. And I can go ahead and I can submit search and pull up those people. I can sort them by first name or by company name or anything I want. I can kind of scroll through them and decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to take this Tony Choi. I'm going to take this John Christensen. There could be a couple of different people in here that I want to look at. But, I could add one or all of these records just by clicking a button. And I can add them as a contact, or I can add them as a lead, right? You have the option to do both. Let's say that this person is someone I want to work. It's not yet somebody I've had contact with. I want to add those as leads. That's great. I could also come in and I could say, hey, I have Tiffany as an account, right? I'm looking for contacts at Tiffany. Maybe I'm looking for people that have the term VP or vice president, right? And I could add those in, or I could even do predefined levels that exist in our platform. But I can now start to search for people in specific areas that are important to me that I can add directly to my existing accounts. And one last thing, if we want to come in here and just start over again, maybe you have something very specific. Maybe you're looking for people who are in compliance, right? Did I spell that correctly? Right? And I need people who are in finance, who have the job title. Let's just say I want to have these in the state of Massachusetts. So I can take this down to a very targeted list of 8 people who are compliance people in finance in the state of Massachusetts. They actually have the word compliance in their job title. You can get super granular in what you're looking for.
Yeah, and in a way,
So
you touched upon ABM, account-based marketing. That's like, the big acronym. It's been, the last, I mean, it's always existed, but it's been an acronym the past, few years. You just did it there. You looked up Tiffany, again, staying on, the Tiffany, you looked that up and you looked for very specific titles that you would target. Yes, it's great to target the company, which we could also do. You could do account-based marketing there. And then another thing that you did is by title that you could do. But what really stood out to me is the technologies in use. If you are, say you are a marketing manager at Amazon Web Services, and you want to see if there's contacts out there that have your competitor, well, that's fair game to kind of reach out to them and say, hey, I understand, or you don't even need to say that, just hey, this is what we have, this is our solution to get them over as a customer.
Yep. And when we look at this, if and I know we're coming up on the Q&A section in a few minutes, but if we can take a second and just run back over here, this type of integration really touches all corners of your organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got sales, you got sales ops, you've got your admin and your CRM leader, you've got your marketing organization. You could just as easily add customer service and adding knowledge to the call center. We could talk about the entire front office operation of your company. Everybody gains benefit from this, right? Your sales organization, they're really interested in sales growth and rep productivity and selling time. This is really putting the power of additional fields of knowledge dynamically integrated with your CRM system in the hands of those salespeople as they have fingers on the keyboard. And they're working that account, and they need to find additional contacts at that account. They're trying to find a specific person at that account, right? It's all there. It checks that box. The VP of Sales Ops, right? They're really looking at the data quality in the CRM. They're looking at resource planning, territory alignment. They're going to be able to run counts of what's net new, what's not in Salesforce. They're kind of doing that dynamic white space analysis to get the most out of the third-party data and the power of Salesforce to get that optimized sales operation experience. Your CRM leader, what they're really interested in here is they want something that is integrated in Salesforce and it's trusted, right? Someone who is not keeping your data is not resident on another platform, and it's going through a security tested application that has passed one of the toughest security reviews known in the whole SaaS-based world, right? Salesforce's App Exchange Security Review. And your CMO, right? Clearly, the marketing side of the house, they own pipeline generation, right? And lead qualities. I have never worked at a company where the sales group has not complained to the marketing group about the quality of the leads. I always feel bad about the marketing people, right? And they want segmentation data. They want to be able to segment the audiences. They want to look at using all of that information in your lead score. We have checked all the boxes in this application for you. We are keeping all those constituents in the organization happy.
Perfect. And with that last minute left, thank you so much, Pat. Thank you so much, everyone on the line for joining. Please email me if you have, I will get to your questions. I wrote some of them down. I'll see if I could reach back out, but please email me if you have any additional questions. And I've been Vincent Pietrafesa. That's Pat Sabatino. I'm with Stirista, and we really appreciate you joining. Thank you so much.